Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today we have back a very favorite gentleman of ours who's been on our show. Oh, he's been on my shows, be my guest for many years off and on. He's a local, he's an author, he's been a journalist. His name is Rod Lee. Welcome back, Rod Lee.
Thank you, Jan.
He has written a book that, I'm going to be honest with you, is tough to read. If you are a parent who has lost a child to addiction, okay? I want to read a lovely card that Rod sent. Dear Jan, a hard book to write, a sad story, but one that I hope will also bring a smile. For the love and laughter that that Dan and I shared. Now, Danny is his son who passed. I hold on to the pleasant memories of our time together.
I'm surprised you can read my writing.
Oh, yes, I'm good at now. Rod, the name of the book is called Danny Dear. It's a memoir. This is his son. He looks just like Rod. I thought it was you at first when you were younger.
There is a similarity.
And then on the back, he has the same thing. A journey of love, loss, and redemption. From Danny Dear, Massachusetts, author Rod Lee's powerful story of the extraordinary bond between a father and a son battling alcoholism. Now, when did you start? He's been gone from us 2 years?
So it'll be 2 years on February 16th.
Now, the way I understand from reading it is that you finally found him a little room down on Shrewsbury Street, and it looked kind of depressing.
Right.
But his sister went to visit him, and then you heard her scream.
My daughter.
Your daughter. And she ran up.
We were on the phone.
Was he gone at that point?
Yes.
But did he faint?
He died in his sleep is the way we understand that, which was kind of a blessing in that regard.
So he didn't know. Because there was another time he was very, very sick. He was upstairs and you heard him. And
Right.
How old was he when he started with alcohol?
Very young. Teenager.
My son, too.
Mm-hmm.
With the weed.
Right. Started with the alcohol, with the beer, and it graduated to other things. Marijuana, cocaine. He got hooked on pills, and just one thing led to another.
And he went for psych help. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
What did they give him a diagnosis of anything else?
Yeah, he was bipolar. He had mental health issues.
He
had a lot of physical and emotional and mental issues going on, Jan.
He did. Right from kind of the beginning.
Well, it just progressed.
Yeah.
And all of the alcohol and drinking and the medications and everything, stuff he got on the street, it all contributed to what was a demise over a period of time.
It does do that. And you just think, oh, they got it, they're going to get sober. Silence.
Right.
It's like they're vanished into thin air. You wonder where is that person?
So the thing about Dan was he always wanted to beat the disease, which is not always true of all alcoholics.
I know.
He was very determined to get sober, to stay clean, and he was just never able to completely accomplish it.
Did he go to AA?
Oh, he went to AA constantly. And AA was the thing that I think helped him most of anything he had ever been.
Yes.
It's a great program.
Yes, it is.
He was a big believer in it. He spoke at meetings. He thought the world of AA. He went to a lot of meetings, 3, 4, 5 times a week.
In the Whitensville probably area.
Yeah, mostly there.
Oh, there's
Worcester.
some very, very good long-timers out there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and they all knew him.
did he have a sponsor?
Oh, yeah. And he was a sponsor.
Did he? Now, he went to a couple of facilities.
Mm-hmm.
What were they?
Oh, my goodness, there have been so many. So, he spent time at AdCare. He spent time at Spectrum. He went to a lockdown facility in Springfield, Howard Street, when he was very young. Went to Outward Bound for a month. That's in the book. We thought he was doing really well coming out of Outward Bound, which is a great program.
Yeah, it is.
A month in the Maine woods, all, going through that whole experience of
Yeah,
living
yeah.
in a tent and all
And
that.
it didn't work.
Didn't hold. I mean, within weeks after he graduated, he was back to drinking
And he
And-
was on the streets of Worcester.
for a
He
long
was on
time.
a bridge under a bridge one time.
Mm-hmm.
You would bring him things. You know, it's hard as a parent. Did you go to Al-Anon? That's
I did
the
not
secret.
go to Al-Anon. No.
Secret for the parent.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I was invested in Dan,
Yeah.
and him, myself, and my oldest daughter Amanda were his lifeline, his support network, and I just tried to stand by him because I knew his commitment was to sobriety, and so I would do what I could for him. But he was off and on homeless in Worcester for many years, and a thing I tell people too is that he became sort of comfortable in that life. He knew the people.
Yeah.
He was popular because he was a storyteller,
Yeah.
and everybody liked him. And so once he realized that his situation was kind of like permanent, he just kind of adapted to that life, and he became part of that crowd that hung around on the Worcester Common, went to St. John's for breakfast in the morning, went to Everyday Miracles at lunchtime.
Did he do the 90 and 90? 90 meetings in 90 days, they tell you when you're a newcomer.
No.
A lot
But
of
he got
people-
all these coins for 3 months sober, 6 months sober.
Yep, they give you a big hand, you get up there. They start with, I believe, 9 months, and they go down to 6. Some of them go down to 6, 3,
Right.
2, 1. 24-hour, most important ship. 24 hours. Did he have a whole stat?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he collected them. And he was very much into the Bible and his faith, which I
Yes.
said in the book, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a very religious person.
Yes.
And so he went to church, and,
Did
it's
you
just-
see this coming, that he would not make it?
So we kind of had an inkling that he wasn't going to make it, but it's still a shock. We didn't know when or where. Just at the end, he had so many issues going on. He was overweight. He had a thyroid issue going on. He had kidney stones, congestive heart failure, you name it. He had all this multitude of issues, and they just kind of piled up on him. And that's what the diagnosis finally said, that he died a natural death.
That's not natural. It's
Not natural in that sense, but I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't die. He could have died so many different ways tragically, and I often thought about that.
Suicide, ideation.
He had suicidal tendencies.
What did you think about his counselors? The medications, were they worth it?
So I think they overprescribe, and they always think that another pill is the solution.
Yeah.
Change it up, change the medication, change the dosage, methadone, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
And they have his best interests at heart, but the problem was he got away from the alcohol, but then he got hooked on pills. So it's kind of like a no-win situation.
They say, I don't think this is always true, that it can be hereditary. It doesn't have to be your parents, your grandparents. Was there someone way back?
Not even that far back.
I don't know. And it's like I look at my family, I'm like,
I had an aunt and an uncle who were alcoholic. My wife's father was an alcoholic, a raging alcoholic who quit cold turkey, which is very hard to do.
very.
And he replaced alcohol with coffee, and he became a coffee fanatic.
Did he have a
But
long
this-
life?
Not a long life. A reasonably long life. He died of, he had lung cancer at the end. But no, I mean, people in our own family. I mean, every family is touched by it, and you don't have to go very far back in my family to find it.
Boy, I sure have tried in mine.
And
I don't. It's tough to not grow up around it.
Right.
I understand it. I understand the principles. I think Al-Anon is not for the alcoholic or the addict. Al-Anon is for the family and friends.
Right.
It is to keep the focus on yourself so that you are not enabling
Right.
the person who is ill.
Right.
It keeps it on you, and the person begins, hopefully, to say, oh, I think I'm kind of on my own here. But you're supportive, you're there. Good for you. How did the meeting go tonight? But you know you have your own Al-Anon, and you could call just like an AA strength.
Right.
What'd you bring with you? You brought a paper with you.
So I'm going to read you a couple of little things that I got from people about the book. That's the book.
Yes, we have it right here.
You have it.
Before we go any further, Rod, how can people get a hold of the book?
rodlee.com.
Rodlee.com.
All the information is on my website.
Okay.
So, Jan, this is a little note I got from a poet in Woodstock, Connecticut I know. She writes, I finished your book over the weekend and just wanted to say how touched I was by this story. The dedication and love you have for your son is so powerful, and what you were able to do for him is admirable and noble through such enormous difficulty. What surprised me most reading this book is that I had no idea you have been through these experiences after reading Gil Christopher and meeting you. You have managed to keep your sunny side up, and your demeanor does not hint at those sorrows portrayed in Danny Deer. I wish you the best of future luck and a happy holiday season. I got two others here I can read if you want.
How is your wife? How did your wife handle it?
So this is an interesting thing because she really couldn't deal with the whole issue. And I understood that, It got to the point where she just said, I have to pull away.
Yes.
It's too much. I pray for him every night. I just cannot deal with all the agony, all the tension and stress,
I know.
and other members of the family felt the same way.
Yeah.
And I told my wife and I told other people, everybody has to answer to their own conscience on how they deal with an alcoholic.
Well said.
And I hold no grudges against anybody for their decisions.
Yeah.
I had to make my own decision.
Yes, you did.
And you second guess that a lot of times,
Yeah.
Did I do too much?
Yeah.
And I always felt I didn't do enough.
He knows you loved him.
We were
This book.
we were very close.
You're very, very close.
We had a great relationship.
I thought he was my own kid's age at 31. Your son was in his 50s.
Yeah, 49.
How old were you when you had him?
20, he was born in 1974, so I was almost, 1974, 29.
You were young enough. Yeah, you were pretty young then.
Yeah.
People are having them in their 50s now.
Yeah.
I was older than you when I had mine.
Yeah.
He was my only child.
Right. And he's the middle.
Yeah.
It was Amanda and then Dan and then Caroline.
And you had two sisters in between.
He had two
Yeah.
two
Are you
sisters.
still in Linwood?
Am I still what?
Linwood.
Yes.
You said, was Linwood called Hickory? What was Hickory again?
Yes.
Hickory Street.
I changed some names in the book.
Okay.
I changed some place names, and I also changed some people's names just to keep them, to safeguard their privacy.
Did you think of AdCare?
What did I think of AdCare? AdCare was great. He was there for a month.
Wow.
They had a graduation ceremony.
Yeah, they watched him.
They march him in downstairs, coffee and cookies. And I'll never forget, I think I mentioned in the book, the man who spoke was a recovered alcoholic,
And he said-
recovering alcoholic.
And he said, watch it.
Watch it. He said, I lost everything. My wife, my home, everything. Until I finally hit rock bottom. And he said, what's going to happen is you think these people are all set, they've graduated, they're getting their certificates and everything. They could relapse at any time.
Yep.
And then you're right back to square one. And if you go with them, they're going to drag you right down with them.
They say it can be worse.
Yeah.
If you have stopped and you go back out again, you may be looking at death. You may be looking at never ever coming back.
Right.
Some people make it. We have a friend. He left for 10 years. He had long sobriety. When he came back, he told us he was so embarrassed. But people were so happy to see him. People, in AA or any of the groups, they love each other. It becomes the second family.
Right. It does. It's a very tight-knit, close-knit community and very supportive of each other.
Did you go with him to meetings?
Oh, I went to meetings with him all the time. He was a great speaker.
Was he?
He loved to share his story.
Yeah.
And he helped a lot of people.
And he was a grandfather in his 50s.
Yeah. Yeah.
How old was he when he had his first baby?
So Alexis is 20. He was in his He was in his 20s when he had his oldest daughter. Yeah.
And he has how many children?
He's what?
He has how many children?
3.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 3 daughters who
How
he
did
loved.
they take it?
They were devastated. You know, it's been very hard for them.
Did they see it coming?
I think they did. We all did.
You have the
Just-
oldest 20-something.
Mhm.
Is she 29? Was it?
She's not that old. She's close to that.
She's a millennial.
Yeah.
Okay. There are so many different. Now, your son was not a millennial. I think he was a Gen Xer. What, am I wrong?
1974. I'm not sure he was a Gen Xer.
Maybe. Yeah, because see, the millennials, boomers are from 46 to 64.
Right.
Then you have the Xers, I don't know, maybe 45, 49. Your son was an Xer, I think.
Yeah.
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 He was an Xer.
Yeah.
And he looked so much like Rod Lee. We were talking with Rod Lee. Rod Lee, so many people in this part of America know Rod Lee. He's a journalist. He's written books. He's been on here with books. And you have finished journaling the book, writing the book,
The Rambler.
the Rambler, and you just had enough, right?
Yeah, I thought it was time to kind of close it down. I'd been ill recently, and
Yeah.
I got a lot of family things going on, all good for the most part, and home projects that need to be completed, and I was just investing a lot of time.
Sure.
I enjoyed The Rambler, and I enjoyed, the fact that you wrote for me and other people wrote for me. It had a little niche
Yeah.
in the type of
But you couldn't
content.
fit everybody in the last one. I looked at it and I said, well, there's the girl I've seen before with the short blonde hair. She's usually near me. And I went,
Yeah.
Then I said, oh, geez, I started questioning myself. I said, did I forget? No, I didn't forget.
No, you didn't forget.
No.
And I had been debating for quite some time about whether to continue doing that or not. Then my printer in Northbridge closed up her shop, so I had to find another printer for the ones that I actually printed, a minimal number of copies.
Sure.
So I found another printer in Grafton. But all of this kind of came to a head in December, and I just thought, well, now's as good a time as any to get out and kind of concentrate on some other things, focus on my health and the family.
How
and the
is
home.
your health?
It could be better, but it's getting better.
Anything, I mean, he's been through what I've been through. COVID, pneumonia?
I had pneumonia and
Well,
the
you
flu.
were in the hospital up the street, right?
Right.
How long were you in there?
3 days.
They loaded me up. See, I shouldn't take penicillin. My stomach has never been, this was last December, a year ago December. And it did a number on my stomach. And I have never been the same since. I lost 35 pounds. I was so sick. And then my stomach acted up. And then my husband and I caught COVID in July.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had all those tests, like tube down your throat and then all the other stuff?
Not recently.
Oh,
I know. But
it's awful.
no, they took good care of me in the hospital.
Yeah.
But I was very ill. I didn't even realize how ill I was until they told me I had a double whammy of flu and pneumonia.
Did you go in by ambulance?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I went to my doctor because I'd been to a couple of urgent cares, and they missed it.
Yeah.
He listened. You have pneumonia.
Right. I was surprised to hear that.
So
I knew I had flu.
I've never been sick. I mean,
Right.
like this. I've always
Right.
been so healthy.
Right.
To lose 35 pounds, I mean, a lot of girls
Yeah,
be like,
that's a
you
lot.
lucky goose. No, it's not that way.
Yeah.
And your stomach, did you find you just didn't feel like eating?
Oh, yeah. I lost my appetite.
Oh. Things didn't taste. I went through that.
Right.
Yeah, I did. Now, your son managed to escape COVID and pneumonia. He managed to, and the one who's got the addiction escapes it.
Hmm. Yeah, he had
Is he buried in this locale in our area?
Yeah, Pine Grove in Whitensville.
He's in Pine Grove.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we have Lakeview Cemetery up here.
Right.
Did I ever tell you? I think I told you Gertrude Lawrence, the King and I.
Oh, yeah.
The first Mrs. Anna
Yes.
is buried there.
Buried there,
with
yeah,
her
I know.
husband.
Yeah, you wrote about that.
Mr. Aldrich,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I want to contact the new owners of the funeral parlor because I want to say, did they keep a memoir I would like to know if there's a picture of Yul Brenner could have been standing there. And Yul went young at how old was Yul? Because of
He
smoking.
was pretty young. Yeah.
Smoking.
Yeah.
Took the fine actor.
Yeah.
She didn't know she was sick. She passed out. She was only in the show, I think, a year. Passed out during, I think, mid-break at the studio. They took her to Presbyterian Hospital in New York.
Yeah.
She never came home.
Yeah.
She had liver cancer.
Yeah.
She didn't know.
You just don't know, especially when you get to be our age, you know.
Well, she did too much. She traveled too much.
Yeah.
And I have seen that slowing down, you can still have a lot of fun and interest, but slowing it down. If I'm out shopping and I start to not feel too good, I think, you know what, it's time maybe to go home and eat something.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was time to slow down for me.
What about your son? Did he at any time feel like slowing down? Just to try to get a grip on.
Yeah, I think he welcomed any chance he had to go into a facility where he could get treatment. And he always kind of, I think, was a little bit scared to be on his own as he was the last days, you know, when I took him to that rooming house.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all.
No.
I can see where he went to AdCare. Well, he went to now Spectrum in Westboro or Worcester?
Westboro.
Westboro looks like a college campus.
Yeah.
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 And there's another place he went. Wasn't there?
Oh, he's been all over the state. He's been to he went to a facility. He was at Channing House in Worcester, which is a halfway house. He was at Stepping Stones in Leominster.
What about Genesis?
Genesis? No, he never went to Genesis. He knew of it,
Yeah.
and I knew of Genesis, and that was more of a mental health thing. They were, you know, catering more to a mental health clientele.
What's that place in, I don't care for it, from what I saw people when I went in with a friend, in Westboro. It's off of Route 9, Centennial.
I'm not
Okay, it's a Westboro place. It's like a jail almost. You go in, you're a visitor. They
Yeah.
lock up your stuff. You lock.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, I don't know. I know Spectrum, and
Yeah, Spectrum's
there.
has a good reputation.
yeah, he was there a number of
My
times.
son told me that at AdCare, the only downfall at AdCare was that outside waiting were the drug addicts because they knew that somebody might sneak out from AdCare, and they did.
Mm.
They'd go out and get pills.
Yeah. No, he did well at AdCare.
He did.
Yeah.
Did he have a roommate?
I believe he did, yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
Was he at any time real sick coming out of it?
Yeah, there were times when you know, it took him a while to recover. That's why he needed long-term treatment a number
Sure.
of times. He went to Jamaica Plain once. He was down in Fall River one time. He'd been all over the state for treatment.
I wonder what that was like.
Well, the thing about Dan was he knew whenever he slipped and relapsed, he knew what he had to do.
Did he know his trigger?
Yeah.
What was his trigger?
Usually some kind of emotional thing.
Did he have a
Like-
girl? He had a girlfriend.
No.
No.
He was
mother.
with someone briefly in the book.
Mother of his children.
No, they were divorced early.
Yeah.
But then he met a girl in Worcester, and they were together very briefly.
Yeah.
But no, he always wanted another relationship. That was his goal.
And he
But-
sounded like a heck of a guy with a personality and a sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a great sense of humor.
Well spoken.
Yeah.
Look at his father.
Yeah.
Did he ever want to be like you, a journalist,
No,
author?
he wrote poetry.
Poetry.
Yeah.
What did he do for work when he felt like work?
Landscaping.
That's right. He was. We've
Yeah,
got
he
about
was a
2 minutes.
landscape, yeah.
I read about that landscaping. He
Yeah.
liked the physical. That's
Yeah.
why you probably figured when he went up to that, what was it? That camp,
Outward Bound.
Outward Bound. That he'd probably love it, but
Yep.
it didn't work.
He loved the outdoors, and he loved landscaping. He loved grasses and trees and shrubs and flowers and birds, the whole outdoor scene. And he was good at it. You know, he was very good at landscaping. He knew the trade inside out. Did my whole yard for me. And he could have, he wanted to start his own business.
We have a lot of parents out there who are going through this. There is a special thing online for it's parents who have been abandoned. Basically, kid just disappears, shows up, disappears, and can be for years, a couple years.
Right.
And you think, oh, and then they start blaming you, but then they write you an email to apologize. By that time, you're like, I have had it. I have had 3. When you're separated, what's that word when you're
Estranged.
estranged?
Yeah.
3? No more. No more.
Yeah.
It's not that you don't love.
Right.
It's you'll support,
Yeah.
but from a distance and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. That's
You can't.
one mistake I think I made was I kept bringing Dan back to our house because a lot of times I just didn't have any alternative. There was
Sure.
nowhere to send him.
Yeah.
He would have been on the street.
Yeah.
So I brought him back over my wife's objections until it got to the point where we just couldn't, neither of us could do it anymore. And
She
he
was sick for a while too.
Yeah, and he understood that. You know, he accepted that.
Sure.
But
He was a
Just
caring person.
very
I
caring.
didn't know him, but when I again, the book is Danny Deer. Are you going to be taking a copy over to the new library here in Upton because they
Of
have a
course.
specialized local authors
Of
section?
course, I will do that.
It's right up the street. You've seen it probably.
I wondered because I saw this was
Go
closed.
right in. Tell them you were just on the show. I know Matt, who is the director.
Okay,
Just go right in and say, "Here it is. Please put it up."
okay.
We want to thank Rod for being here.
Thank you
Again,
very
how
much
can
for
they
having me
reach you?
again. Thank you.
Rod, how can they reach you?
Rodley.com.
Rodley.com.
Thank you, Jan.
And if somebody wants to just talk to you, do you feel like just at least hearing them?
Absolutely, yeah. I have heard from people.
Good. Thank you so much. You're
Thank
the
you.
former journalist of Whitensville, Northbridge.
Thank you.
What you have been through. Thank you for having me as a journalist.
Thank you.
Of being such a good father.
Oh, you're a good friend. Thank you.
We'll see you next time. I'll be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.